to me. It's my life. I want to live. I need to speak to Karen.
There once was a man named Austin Sweepleman. He was like any other man, you would know. Meticulous in his ways, editing of his podcasts. But little did he know, his death was imminent.
Oh no!
Hi, I'm Tanner Richard Kraft.
I'm Austin Sweepleman.
I'm Tim M. Sullivan, and I guess I'm taking over editing this one.
And today we have a special guest.
I'm Joseph Troniceek.
Whoa! Austin, I didn't say you could move. Alright, this bit's done.
And welcome to
The Bomb Squad Podcast!
Yeah, okay. Welcome
today...
to the Bomb Squad Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about a film about a man and all the little details that push him into the future. Of course, I'm referring to Mike Mills, Come On, Come On. We're going to be talking about
Hey,
Mike
listen,
Mills,
I love Come On too, but no. Today, we're talking about Mark Forster's Stranger Than Fiction. The movie where if you walk up to someone and say, how do you feel about Will Ferrell? They say, oh, I hate Will Ferrell, except for Stranger Than Fiction. That's the consistent trend I see with people. We call these people psychopaths. I mean, Joseph, how much experience do you have walking up to people on the street asking them their opinions about Will Ferrell? I have plenty. I majored in it in college.
I don't ask people about Will Ferrell.
That's why you're not famous.
This man's not living in 2004. How dare he?
Before we get into our thoughts on Stranger Than Fiction overall, I have a sort of a dual question here. Because it depends. It's the question you're getting is different depending on who you are. If you have not seen Stranger Than Fiction before you watch it for this podcast, what kind of expectations did you have going into it? If you have seen Stranger Than Fiction before this podcast recording, as in like you watched it well before this one, what kind of movies were you watching at the time you watched this one for the first time? We're gonna start with Austin. Was this a first time watch or no?
The first time I saw Stranger Than Fiction, I should do like a narratory voice for this instead of the usual screaming.
Austin considered whether he should do a narrative voice instead of the usual screaming. It was something that he was feeling grand anxiety about.
The first
something
time I
that
saw
he would probably tell.
The first time I saw Stranger Than Fiction was...
He was annoyed by the young fellow who was...
The first time I saw Stranger Than Fiction was my freshman year of college, roughly about 8 years ago. But, like, if you go all the way back to 2006, I was just a modest 12-year-old. Like, take a good look at that year, and you might start to see why Stranger Than Fiction was sort of an outlier by, like, Hollywood standards. Like, the aughts were a weird time. Anybody who lived through them, like, knows that a lot has changed about art and culture since that decade ceased.
Wasn't 2007 the year of, like, There Will Be Blood and No Country for Old Men?
But we're talking
this
about
is 06.
2006.
This was before the cultural change.
Fine.
Like, let's take, for instance, the three films that beat Stranger Than Fiction the weekend that it came out at the box office. Flushed Away, The Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause, and Borat.
I personally can attest that I was very excited to see Flushed Away.
I was very excited to see Borat. It was November 10th, like the middle of what should be Oscar season, but escapism was kind of kicking the shit out of everything else until the ball dropped in Times Square and it changed gears. Like, November was Borat, Happy Feet, Casino Royale, Santa Claus 3, and Flushed Away, with a torture porn movie just barely edging out at number 6, Saw 3, leaving Stranger Than Fiction down at lucky number 7, like hosting all the other dramas. The next month, we'd see similar trends, with Night at the Museum taking December, Happy Feet at number 3, Aragon of all f***ing movies at number 4, with only The Pursuit of Happiness, with Will Smith managing to break the trend and land at number 2, with all the escapist films. And believe me, I was mostly on that train at that moment, along with the rest of this traumatized country. Save for the fact that I'd taken to watching, like, NC-17 movies behind my parents' backs, because at that point, I found intensity more interesting than storytelling or formalism, because I was 12. And that habit mostly of, like, placing value in shock over other things led me to ignoring this film until I got older. Because I figured when I got done with the NC-17 movies, I'd just move on to all the R-rated ones. Then one day, I'm alone in my apartment, and I'm going through my whole, like, Charlie Kaufman's a genius phase. And that was like a trail of breadcrumbs that led me to this movie. And the rest
Listen,
is
to be
history.
frank, Charlie Kaufman kind of is a genius, but I'm not, like, in a phase or anything. This is post-phase.
Right.
I never left my Charlie Kaufman phase, if I'm going to be honest with y'all. I am perpetually in my Charlie Kaufman phase. All right, Tim, I do believe that this was not a first-time watch for you, and if your Letterboxd rating is any indication, you really love this movie. So what kind of movies were you watching around the time you watched this for the first time?
So I'll take you back to basically my middle school experience. I watched this in 8th grade. Basically, I would say that middle school is sort of where I started my journey towards becoming a filmmaker, because I was just making like little movies with my friends, just like dumb little LARP things on a Video 8 camcorder. And it definitely gave me a passion for just like making movies, and helped me to cut my teeth on editing a little bit. But I was far from what one might call a film buff. Basically anything that I was watching was like Pixar or DreamWorks animation or a Star Wars or a DBZ movie. I didn't know about films. What are films? I never heard of them. But there was one actor who I enjoyed his work quite a bit, and that was Will Ferrell. 2004, my family went to see Anchorman, and it was probably the hardest we'd laughed at a movie at the time. And then as soon as I came home, NBC's airing Saturday Night Live Best of Will Ferrell Volume 2. So I see that, and I want to see more of this man, this silly man. We buy the DVDs of Best of Will Ferrell. Those are on repeat pretty much my whole middle school. Anchorman's on repeat my whole middle school. Talladega Nights comes out. That one's another one I'd watch a lot. So then 2006 comes, and Stranger Than Fiction comes out, and I remember thinking this looks a little different, so I'm interested to see what it has in store for me. Yeah.
I'm interested to see what it has in store for me. Yep. All right, now Joseph.
Well,
I
we're gonna get into that.
Oh, right. We're not talking about the movie yet. Now, Joseph, remember, we're keeping it to your expectations.
Yeah, of course.
This was, I believe, you watched it for the first time yesterday. Is that right?
Yes, I watched it for the first time yesterday at like 3 a.m.
Well, that's the ideal time to watch it, of course. Well,
It's a very ideal time to watch.
what expectations you had going in, man? I remember you saw the director and you went, "Oh."
Yeah, I did see the director and kind of go, oh, because I of course have seen a couple of his other films. I like Christopher Robin. I do really like that film. I want to lean into the fact that that film is written by Alex Ross Perry, but like, you know, I think that there's an element of that maybe in there. You know, I don't I don't love Perry a lot, all of Perry's films, but I think that, like, you know, he's a good writer. And then, so yeah, I saw the name and I was like, all right, well, you know, World War Z is kind of a mess, and, you know, Quantum of Solace is even more of a mess. And
in his defense, though, there was the writer's strike. I don't think even a great director could have salvaged that.
I mean, a lot of stuff got, you know, tumbled by the writer's strike in that case. So, like, you know, I was like, I don't know. I think I saw the name of the director and I was a little bit on guard. I'm just like, I think that, you know, I think Christopher Robin's good. I think that maybe this could be good if a little bit, like, covered per se whenever it comes to how it's directed. And, you know, so yeah, that's where I was going into it. In 2007, I was not, like, fully into movies. I think I was just like, I don't think I was self-aware in 2007. I was in elementary school. So, like, there's a certain moment where you become, like, self-aware of your reality. I was not self-aware of my reality. Like, I liked movies, but I was just not, I was not there yet. Yeah, so I guess I watched this at 3 a.m. I was anticipating a Mark Forster film, which means it's okay. And I was not aware of reality whenever I was 7 years old.
You were like, pretty colors.
Yeah, and I was like really jacked to see Flushed Away. I have to admit, like,
Listen, I get it. Flushed Away is pretty baller.
I have a pretty distinct memory of not actually being able to sleep the night before. I was like, I'm gonna see this damn movie and it's gonna be good.
Flushed Away is cinema. If you have yet to rewatch it as an adult, keep it that way. I want you to keep your memories pure.
Like, I don't think I would remember what the layout of my bedroom was at that time if I did not have the memory of being just like super excited to see Flushed Away. That's the answer.
So for me, I have obviously seen this before. This is actually a movie I love. This podcast is actually kind of similar to the Moneyball podcast in the sense that this is a movie that I put on the schedule and I was insistent will stay there. I'm not letting it leave. This is that kind of movie for me because I love Stranger Than Fiction. I'll get into more why before, but I'm going to kind of give you an idea of what I was when I first watched this movie. It's when I was falling in love with movies. This is one of the critical stepping stones for me to fall in love with cinema at a deeper level. Not quite make me want to become a filmmaker. It's not on that track. It's not that kind of special, but it's what made me fall in love with movies and know that this was like a true passion of mine. When I first watched it, I loved it so much. I was 15. So the year is 2013. It was in December of that year. I loved it so much. And I want to see what else this director's done. So I went on my way and I watched a movie called Finding Neverland. And I loved that movie. And I kept going. I said, okay, what else has this guy done? Monsters Ball? Let me watch that. And I loved that movie. And then I saw a movie called Stay. And once again, I loved that movie. Stay and Stranger Than Fiction, both of those movies, I immediately rewatched them after watching them the first time. Which is kind of building into this hot take I had. I was telling building up to, if you asked 15-year-old or 16-year-old Tanner who his favorite director was, I'd say Mark Forster. And to this day, he is one of my favorite directors. I actually really love his movies. I love his style, which made me know when you'd tell me, oh, it's directed by Mark Forster, I knew this was going to be an interesting podcast because you and I clearly feel opposites about him.
I don't know if I like any of those movies.
For the record, I'm not insane. I don't like World War Z either. I'm not that crazy. I'm not super into World War Z, but honestly, I don't even think that's his fault. I think that's a studio bullshit
for sure.
thing.
That's one of those films wherever you can feel.
I don't think anyone could have fixed that mess. So, what other kind of movies were we watching this time? Obviously, Mark Forster, but this was a movie I was watching the classics. I'm pretty sure the movie I watched before I watched Stranger Than Fiction was The Godfather Part 2. All right? And honestly,
film I have yet to see.
Oh, wow.
This dude hasn't seen Godfather 2?
That's awesome.
Oh, you're going to lose your mind when Michael Corleone. I love both of those movies pretty equally. Call me crazy. I put Stranger Than Fiction at Godfather 2's level. Call me crazy. I don't care. This is how I feel. I love what I love. Eternals is my favorite movie of the year. Clearly, I'm a crazy person who shouldn't be taken seriously.
Petite Maman is the best film of the year, by the way.
I haven't seen it.
Me either.
My second favorite's Tick, Tick, Boom. Anyway, moving on.
Oh, dang. Man. We're just
I saw what your twin thought of Tick, Tick, Boom. I assume you felt similar.
I got 5 minutes into Tick, Tick, Boom.
Oh, that breaks my heart. Anyway, moving on. We're going to talk about what we thought of this movie overall. Tim, I'm actually kind of excited to see your thoughts because this is the highest rating I've seen you give to a film on Letterboxd other than The Evil Dead. I don't see a lot of 4.5 stars from you, Tim. What do you think of Stranger Than Fiction, man?
So it had been a while since I'd watched it, so I was excited to revisit it, and rewatching it, I was definitely different than I remembered it. It was a little more science fiction-y, And then I realized that the movie I was watching was actually Blade Runner 2049. It was not Stranger Than Fiction at all. So then I went to this local store called V-Stock and went and bought a DVD for $4 and threw that on.
That's
And-
wild. V-Stock. I've never heard of that store. What
Oh,
is
it's
that?
such a cool store. You should work there someday.
Full disclosure, Mr. Tronicek works at a V-Stock.
Yeah.
He owns V-Stock. He is Joseph V-Stock.
I cannot confirm or deny any of this information.
His name is Joseph Vintage Tronicek.
We call that VT.
All right.
All right.
Tim, keep going.
Moving on. It's a movie that I still enjoy quite a bit. I think we've talked a bit about Will Ferrell's performance in that. It's definitely a different performance from what he's given in a lot of his movies, and it was fun to see something a little different, a little less screamy, funny guy. But he still had some good jokes in there. And I think it had like an interesting view of just like the author of this story as basically the god of a world that she's creating, and just like showing basically what she's doing to her creations. It's just sort of an interesting take on that. That's something that I've always enjoyed. Like even when I was younger and didn't really know much about films, that was just an interesting thing to me. Overall, enjoyable movie. Good balance of comedy and drama, the comedy and the tragedy, if you will. Overall, good movie. Enjoyed it a lot. Tanner, back to you.
Mr. Zwiebelman, you haven't even given me a hint.
So, Stranger Than Fiction is like one of those like circa 1999 era cubicle movies that got infused with the weird like internet culture self-reflexive movies that were leaking into Hollywood around the time. Like, it features lots of people eating sweet things like yogurt, cookies, Bavarian cookies, and the whole last 5 minutes of the screenplay.
Lots of shorthand.
Will Ferrell throws his hat into the beloved circle of comedians who took a break from getting hit in the so they could take a shot at our hearts. Like Jim Carrey in The Truman Show, Robin Williams in Dead Poets
And the
Society.
Majestic.
And the Majestic.
And the Majestic.
Stranger Than Fiction's a sentimental movie that's probably great to watch on a date. Some of the high points are the compositing and the motion graphics, which kind of remind me of the IKEA catalog scene in Fight Club.
Yo!
Yeah.
Yes!
The film in general, I think, was influenced by Jacques Titi's Playtime, with its wide shots that make the city look all claustrophobic, trapping Will Ferrell in the frame. Combining that neat look and the minimalistic visual enhancements, and you got a really accessible lens into the sort of boring, busy mind of Harold Crick. The $30 million budget also brings us cool things that tend to please crowds, like big stars from the time, locations in Chicago, a couple of really wild set pieces like the house bulldozer and the car crash. The movie also seems to possess some anti-authority commentary throughout that's almost more engaging than its commentary on books and authors. For me personally, it was a lot more interesting watching an IRS auditor get into sort of an argument with an anarchist than it was watching a famous author obsess over methods of manslaughter. And, this is my big thing. I get that the movie's smart by Hollywood standards and flat out genius by, 2006 $30 million budget standards, but I just can't shake the feeling that it dwells more in the realm of, airport bookstores than university curriculum, as far as, literature. And, the little did he know scene feels like a parody of literature professors. The whole idea that there's a really famous author who writes detailed books about everyday people's lives where her sole book-affirming gimmick is that her characters die at the end, that feels kind of silly sometimes.
Could I ask the question of, if you thought that this author's books existed in the real world, would they be good books?
I don't know. I don't read.
Whenever describing, who's the author in Stranger Than Fiction? Cigarette Lady.
Karen Eiffel.
Karen Eiffel. I always think of, those Nora Roberts books that my mom would read. She'd occasionally just give me a little pat, like what's happening in the plot. And she'd be like, oh, the stepfather, slit someone's throat in his sleep, and now there's a trial. Like, look back at the books of like 2006, and it's mostly like sort of crime fiction and stuff like that.
It sounded more like a Tessa Moshfegh novels to me, where it's just these like barreling dark things into the abyss.
No. You guys are way smarter than me. Wait.
But that's like my personal taste. And if I do take it at face value, I will have to admit, I do know some people who are very versed in fiction, be it films or books, who do greatly prefer if the character dies at the end. Those people are real. It's a product of its time in a lot of ways, like the main dreaming to play guitar, the boring desk job, the hipster girlfriend, but the broad strokes are more sophisticated than a lot of romantic comedies out of Hollywood. It's no When Harry Met Sally, but it's better than you'd expect. Back to you, Tanner.
Wow. Your whole this movie isn't that smart. It's going to really hurt when I talk about how smart this movie is in 10 minutes.
Take me on. Let's do this.
My heart. I think I just suffered a heart attack. Oh, my aorta. All right, Joseph, I'm excited to hear your thoughts. I know you're real mixed on this one, so let's get into it.
So I had a journal whenever I was, watching the film, and I realized the journal is not right here. But also I looked in that journal earlier, and I was like, oh, that's right. I was writing in a journal at 3 a.m. while watching a film. So it's not understandable anyways.
You just said, damn, I'm really tired. And damn, that hoagie looks good when there was a cookie on screen.
No. What I was more writing in that journal was, damn, this is 2 movies. My take of this film is that I think there's just a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and that it doesn't actually like land most places. Like, I think that there's like the person who is coming into themselves story, and I think that there's the writer's story. And while I think that those are connected to each other in ways of plot, and like there are thematic things there, I also think that, I don't know, it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of movie. Especially that ending monologue really complicated some things for me, because she's like, it was all those little things that made up his life. And it's like, all right, well, why are you in this movie then? Like, because like she's sitting there like, writing his life, and the movie, and at the ending she's just like, it was all the little things that made him change. And it's like, wait, so the really big high concept thing is not the thing that made him change at all? Okay, why are you in this movie? Like, I actually really like the Emma Thompson stuff, but I'm also like, wait a minute, so what? There's just like, it seems like 2 elements just being squished together essentially to me. And like the truth is that like I would say that like you could argue that there's like a superstructure that's built by building the like writing someone's life on top of it thing, but like I don't know, like what's the meaning of some of these things? Like I am genuine whenever I say I don't actually like, because like it's not saying like too much insightful about storytelling per se. Actually, in the end, it's not really about storytelling. She talks about all the little things that made him change, and I'm like, then why were you in this movie? I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, like I don't understand where the novelist plot like interacts with this movie. I don't. And like, while I found both of them very entertaining, and I found like a lot of the ideas entertaining, I just don't think that they like, really connect. And like, I think that they have to like use the Dustin Hoffman character as just like this, like, in a way connective tissue, but it's bizarre. And like, you could see all the characters in like the writing way of extensions of them, of each other, but like, it's just a lot of cooks in the kitchen in this one for me. And like, I think that almost like you gotta pull the high concept part out of this and actually just like do like the little things transforming a person thing. Like that's bizarre. But I think that final monologue really messed me up because I was just like, wait a minute here. Wait a minute.
What are we doing here?
This movie is looking at the mess that it's made and going, I have to put this together somehow. I guess that's my take. That's kind of where I was. And like, I actually do think it was a well-directed film to some degree. Like, it was kind of covered.
Mark!
But, like, it is, well, to some degree, like, it looks good. Like, that's part of it. It looks clean. There's clean edit.
Film.
Now, I mean, I will admit, it also did prompt me to wonder, like, wait, why does this story need to look clean? Like, where does it aesthetically demand its need to look clean? Like, it's the same thing with all of Denis Villeneuve's work. But the thing is like, where does it demand to look clean? But, you know, on one level, I have a lot to say about that. But on the other level, it's just kind of like airport booky in a way, but also doesn't really gel because there's these two movies that are together that just don't really connect to me.
You did like it overall, though, right?
Well, here's my thing. I think that it's very entertaining in the moment to some degree because, like, I like the scenes. I like the scenes. Like, I like Dustin Hoffman's interactions with this guy, and I understand why Dustin Hoffman, where, you know, Dustin Hoffman always had, like, movie productions have problems because Dustin Hoffman, apparently, I'm saying this apparently, is like, he definitely likes to be in control of the scripts that he does, and, like, you know, he definitely likes to have a lot of input on that stuff. And I think that, like, you know, when it comes to, yeah, that's the thing that I've heard about him. I think that you can clearly see that he liked the idea of this character, and he liked the scenes, and he liked these things. And, like, I like the scenes in the film for the most part. Like, sometimes I think they're, like, very, very overplayed. Like, it's bouncing between this, like, oh, this is a well-written scene, and oh, this is really overdoing it. but you know, overall, like, you know, there's a lot of great acting. There's a lot of great performances. I think that, like, you know, obviously, like, and they clearly seem to be having, like, you know, a good time putting together this movie. But I also think that there's that incongruence of, like, I don't think that these two movies connect to each other. Like, and I think that the film knows that, and that's why that ending monologue basically tries to go, all right, okay, I know I said a lot of things, but here.
Okay. Well, that's all
my
fair.
take.
It's all a good, smart, nuanced take. I am much more simple-minded. I see movie like, I give 5 star. I'm not that simple-minded. I hand out 5 stars like candy, but not like that much.
Tanner,
it's a decent candy.
Don't ever call yourself simple-minded.
Thank you. You know me. You all know me. I really love movies, and I can be really nice. I may be too nice, but I can maybe be too nice sometimes, but it's just how I feel. But I really love Stranger Than Fiction. I love this movie a lot. I really love the two plot. I literally love the two kind of simultaneously existing plots, and I kind of love how they coalesce there at the end when Harold Crick finally calls her. I think Emma Thompson gives a really brilliant performance as, like, having a breakdown at the realization that she's killed 8 people. I think that would me up personally. I haven't killed anyone though.
That's such a, like, tonally weird thing in there though, where it's like, I've killed 8 people, and it's like, I think she's giving Emma Thompson is just a really great actor. Like, she's
Dame Emma Thompson. Let's
and also,
be honest.
like,
yeah,
she's clearly connecting to the writing part of it because, you know, she is a writer and she does this, and, like, you know,
yeah.
I think that anybody who has written anything and watches this movie definitely has that feeling of, like, oh yes, this is sometimes what is, like, not smoking, clearly, yes, watching, like, you know, imagining horrible deaths of people, but not smoking specifically. Like, we don't smoke anymore. As Austin pulls on that vape, he is
Austin's like, you may not. I do.
I have lung cancer. cancer goals. What can I say? They pay me a lot to smoke on
No,
this.
Austin saw Breaking Bad and saw it as a life advice.
All right.
So he's trying to get the lung cancer part done as fast as possible.
The moment I actually related to the most in the movie was the moment whenever she goes to see Dustin Hoffman, wherever he's like, well, you know what? Now that you've changed this, it isn't a masterpiece. It's okay.
Just okay.
And her being okay with it just being okay. That's a pretty, like, you know, whenever you have to make the decision of what your intentions are over what people might consider good. That's a pretty relatable moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that for sure. Yeah. And, you know, I really love Maggie Gyllenhaal. I love her character in the movie. It also helps that when I watched this in 2013 is when I stopped being a rightoid and started slowly going down my left-wing politics route. So seeing basically a sort of leftist type character in a movie is pretty great. You know, the tax man, down with the IRS. I now have much more nuanced takes like George Bush. Anyway, moving on. That really killed Austin.
Love you, dog.
I really love this movie, of course. I was just talking about. I really love Maggie Gyllenhaal and Will Ferrell in this movie. I love them as a couple. I think they're really cute and sweet, and I kind of really buy how it develops. It seems really real. Nothing wants to make me throw up in a good way. In a good way, more than
I brought you flowers.
that has to be just so sickly sweet and just the most perfect of ways. I want to throw up because it feels like too much sugar. I think they have really good chemistry as a couple. And I really love them. I love, like Austin was saying, the like that sort of IKEA furniture scene from Fight Club type overlays. I eat that shit up. When movies do that, I go, yes, that is a super stupidly simple thing you can do to make your movie look cool. Yes, I think more movies should do this.
See,
I think Dune would be better if it had IKEA style overlays telling me how much every shot cost.
I think that a lot of films, dude, have elements wherever it's like, oh, look, you made a perfect object. Wait, why did you make a perfect object? Like,
Yeah.
why? I think that this film has things where it's just like, why does this look this way? Like, I mean, I know the kind of movie that you're trying to make, but like, should you really be basing it on the kind of movie that you're trying to make and be more focused on the movie that you're making?
I do want to say I can defend the cleanliness and the aspects of Harold Crick's life at the beginning. He's an IRS agent. He's boring. I think the cleanliness and emptiness sort of makes sense in that case. As it goes on, maybe it could get more dirty. I don't know. But I really love this movie.
I don't know. I think that some of the romance in it kind of feels a little bit. Again, Airport Book is like, that was a very great way of describing.
Joseph, I'm a for rom-coms. I believe any couple on screen.
How'd you three feel about the line
I want you.
over and over again when he pronounces his love?
I love it. I love it. It's kind of weird and cheesy, but I kind of love it.
Yeah, I didn't remember that, and as I saw it this morning, I'm like, I don't know about that one.
I have to admit, I do feel a little bit uncomfortable with that line.
I love this movie a lot, though, and I think it's because of one critical key ingredient, which is Will Ferrell's performance. I think that's the glue that sticks the whole film together in general. I really love his performance. Joseph, I'm assuming you're a fan of it, too? Oh, okay. Fair enough.
You know, I think, again, he's good in scenes. I think that everybody is good in scenes in this movie. I also think that there's just elements wherever he comes off as not being in the scene sometimes too, though, wherever it's just like he just feels like he's just kind of fake. Yeah, I don't know. Fake. Yeah, and maybe that's attributed to like he's in a novel or something like that, but like there are just moments where it's just like, this is not how, like, you know, it just feels like you feel the quirk.
All right, I guess you're not super into it. Austin, you seem more into it, but still not super into it.
Yeah, I am slightly more into it than that. The feel the quirk line really kind of got me. God.
I think that internally in the film, if I were to explain how it feels to some degree, is that you don't get anything like internal about him. You only get like, the film telling you everything. So he's not really like told to give a performance per se. There's not really a performance happening because you don't feel any of the subtextual elements happening in the film. The film gives you everything. I guess that's a better way of organizing my thoughts there.
That's totally fair. My thing is, like, I compare this to, like, Dead Poet Society and Truman Show, and I think it's sort of a missed opportunity that Will Ferrell hasn't, like, given a real tearjerker scene in this film, like, on par with those. Like, the implications of what he's going through are alarming, and I definitely didn't want to see him die some poetic death so that some, like, very sad woman could get praise from, like, book people. But there was no scene where he got to break down my barriers. Like, it was more like an awakening movie where an office drone is revealed to be a normal man underneath it, and when the normal man eventually does something kind of cool, he gets as far as, like, they chose to take him, I kind of bought him wearing both disguises. He certainly plays a killjoy auditor and a guy who, has unrealized dreams pretty convincingly. I just wanted a scene where he suffers to the point where I cry. That was the missed opportunity for me in this one. It didn't make me cry, which is unusual.
And, like, that's the positive thing about casting an actor like Ferrell or like Carey or like any of these guys in these roles, wherever you buy the fact that they're not good. They're going to be kind of understated whenever, like, they're in the regular world. Like, again, this is the reason why I think Peter Weir cast Carey in The Truman Show, because, like, whenever he has to go off the hook, he goes off the hook. And I think that is a good point. Like, I think that they never really let Ferrell go off the hook because they're telling you all of the subtext.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the performance overall. I kind of talked about that a little bit earlier. We kind of brought this up in the group chat. Like, it's a more muted performance than what he usually gives, so it's just kind of interesting to see something a little different from what he normally gives. I think he makes some good points about they could have let him take it a little bit further, but I did enjoy basically what he gave, and yeah, I thought the movie worked. I don't know that I could really see it as anybody else. Like, I'm sure somebody else could give just as good of a performance, but I think Ferrell owns it pretty well. Yeah, I guess that's my 2 cents.
True.
Next time we do a podcast on a movie I love, I'm going to make sure it has at least a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes before I put it in there.
Whoa!
Right.
Okay, boy, come on. Like, okay, there are positive elements to the film.
I'm not hearing it from you, Joseph! I love Ferrell's performance in this movie. I think it's the important glue that holds the movie together. I think it is the critical key to the entire movie. I love the performance. I fundamentally disagree with what both of these guys said, and they're dumb idiot babies who poo-poo in their diapers because of it. That's my ultimate insult. You are a poopy baby. Oh, he dissed you good, bro. Like Eminem just comes out of nowhere. Oh,
Damn it.
Joseph, I love you, buddy.
Whoa.
Yeah, I love his performance in the movie. I think it works on every level. I think it is sweet. I think it is kind of nuanced in a really beautiful way. I think there's a lot of layers to it. Genuinely, I really see a lot there. Now we're going to move on to everyone's favorite section of the podcast, returning after a 2-week hiatus because I kept going over the last 2 weeks. We're going to get right into... Tanner's Trivia Corner.
Yeah.
So this movie has something in common with Venom 2. Austin's reaction killed me. Tom Hardy wore an earpiece in Venom 2. Will Ferrell wore an earpiece that fed him Dame Emma Thompson's narrative lines, like her narration lines, which helped assist him and the other cast members to reacting more naturally to the random things Ferrell was seemingly doing, which helped, like, when Ferrell would just randomly scream in the sky, he would do it on beat with what the narration was, which helped the rest of the cast. A single page of the book can be glimpsed if the movie is paused while Professor Jules Hibbert is reading it. It's just the word-for-word opening narration of the movie as Harold goes about his day, but the page contains a detail that is not mentioned in the film otherwise, which is that Harold's co-worker, Diane Gordon, has been in love with him since the 8th grade, but is too shy to say so.
Whoa.
And in the shown page, when Harold asks for a file from her, she asks for clarification in the hopes that he might just once say good morning to her.
And there's like a moment in the film, I think, wherever he doesn't actually reciprocate anything. There's a moment.
There's a lot of that when he goes to try and when he commits a massive privacy invasion. When he gets Karen Eiffel's contact information and just commits at least 7 crimes.
Oh no.
When Harold is asked for the product of 67 and 453, he says 30,351, but then corrects himself in saying 31,305. The interesting thing about this, he was right the first time. The correct answer to that question is 30,351. I think that was intentional to show it that he second-guessed the right answer, but then the narration contradicts that, so I don't know. Dame Emma Thompson didn't wear makeup in a single scene in the movie. She never wore makeup during the movie. The name of Karen Eiffel's novel alludes to the phrase, nothing is certain except death and taxes, right? The funny thing about this is that Harold dodges his death and Anna dodges paying her taxes.
Yeah.
So I guess they're not that inevitable.
Oh no.
That seems like one of those screenwriting things where it's just like,
It's just a little thing you sneak in there and you're like,
hello, I'm being clever.
I'm a clever boy. The name of Anna Pascal's bakery is The Uprising.
Yeah.
Which is the most I'm a socialist name-ass bakery store ever. Harold's 2 co-workers, played by P.J. Jodorowsky and Peter Gross, you may recognize them because they're most famous for being a part of a Sonic drive-in marketing campaign for 8 years. They were the 2, yeah, we're eating food in the car, guys. You know, there's that scene where the narrator describes the guitar as saying, I'm compensating for something, guess what? That guitar is a Cherry Gibson EDS 1275. This guitar is most well known for being made famous by Jimmy Page. I wonder if the filmmakers were saying something when they said, that's the guitar that looks like you're compensating for something. When Dave, aka Tony Hale, which I didn't bring this up earlier, I love Tony Hale in this movie. I love Tony Hale in every movie. Tony Hale is such a great actor. I love him. When he turns the lights on in his apartment, it makes the same sound that the communicators make on Star Trek.
All right, so here's your room, or as I like to call it, Sleep Pod 2. Spot.
It's one of those subtle character building details that it's like, oh, that's cool. And finally, the old cinema movie that Harold and Anna are watching together is A Man and a Woman by Claude Lelouch. And then finally, when Harold Crick goes to the movies to finally live his life, he's watching Life is Strange. All right, Austin, final thoughts.
Stranger Than Fiction is adaptation, but for date night. Stranger Than Fiction is 8.5, but if you're on a date. Is it essential cinema? Yes, it is. If you have a night where you and your partner are bored and want to watch something cute. Other than that, it's mostly just the coolest movie about a tax auditor.
Joseph Troniceek, final thoughts, Chloe.
Okay, it's coffee brand, airport coffee brand Charlie Kaufman.
Fair enough. Tim, go.
Yeah, overall good movie. I enjoyed revisiting it, and yeah.
I love this movie. I think it's a masterpiece. Mark Forster is a brilliant director, and I really, really do love this movie. And I think Will Ferrell's really brilliant in it, and I think he was the perfect actor to play Harold Crick. I also think Will Ferrell is the perfect actor to play you, the person listening / watching this podcast. If you're listening to this podcast on any of the audio platforms we're on, thank you very much, very, very much for listening. We really appreciate it. Please go down and leave a review if you haven't yet. If you're watching this video on Spotify, hey, what's up? We're new here. Why are you here? Do you like Spotify video? I don't know. If you're watching this video on YouTube, thank you also very much for watching. Go to that in the comment section below and let us know. What do you think of Stranger Than Fiction? What do you think of Will Ferrell? Do you think this movie is good? And finally, should we bring Joseph Troniceek back? This is an answer that only you, the audience members, can decide. Just kidding, we're obviously going to bring him back.
That sounds like a definitive no from Tanner.
No, we're bringing you back, Joseph. We love you. This was great. In all seriousness, comment below and let us know. Have you ever killed a man by omnisciently narrating his life? Comment below and let us know.
Yes.
While you're down there, hit the like button so we know how much you like us. Hit the subscribe button so you know how much we love. So we, not you, but we, because I'm a narcissist, let us know how much you love us. And hit the bell icon so you know exactly when we upload new videos. And also, because I told you to. Thank you all so very much for watching the video. Join us next week when we discuss Arthur Christmas.
That's
See
a
you
pretty
then.
good movie.
Farewell.
We have someone who worked on it. We'll have someone who worked on it.
True.
Bye.
Farewell.
See Mike Mills come on in theaters right now.
I slid my ticket across the table and I said, "Sorry guys, I gotta see about a girl."